welcome back to another episode of Tinfoil Hat.
Tinfoil Hat. Come with me into the waters of conspiracy with Sam Tripoli.
Sam Tripoli.
Mr. Sam Tripoli.
With my friend Ryan Davis.
Hi, Ryan.
We're the first gay couple of conspiracy theories.
I think it's beautiful, Mayor.
Hold up there, partner. Say that again.
It's some mystical, deep, dark realm, crazy shit.
Wake up, Aaron. There's reptile people everywhere.
Hey man, where's the truth there, dog?
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Revolution will be podcasted.
And welcome to another exciting, fun episode of Tinfoil Hat. As always, I'm Sam Tripoli. Joining me in studio is my ace boom cool, my partner in crime, the most off-the-grid dude you'll ever meet in your life, Ryan Davis, everybody.
Excited, man. I've missed you, Sam.
Dude, I miss you too. It's been 2 weeks on the road. I even miss Aaron and is not believing in anything we're talking about. I missed all you guys. I just can't thank you guys for all the positive feedback we're getting on all the episodes and just your guys' suggestions on episodes. You guys want us to do a whole bunch of stuff, and we're very interested in it. We're super excited about everything. Let's get into stuff. Obviously, guys, you guys got to follow us on Twitter. We changed the handle. It is now Tinfoil Hat Cast on Twitter, so check that out. The Instagram is a jumping. Our good friend Ryan Davis is rocking that. He's putting up all the new stuff that we got going on. So go to Tinfoil Hat Pod on Instagram. You guys on Reddit are killing it. Go to reddit.com/r/ Tinfoil Hat Show. I got yelled at for not putting that on there. I got the name right, so there it is. It's reddit.com/r/ Tinfoil Hat Show. Go check us out. More t-shirts than ever. We have more t-shirts on Tinfoil Hat than any other place. That's right. We got all your favorite t-shirts. We've added 3 new t-shirts. We have Pot Smoking Biker Jesus. That's a limited one. We also have, where's the other one that I love? Mind Blown. You guys wanted the Mind Blown t-shirts. That is available. That is also limited edition. That is the fan art from from you guys, the listeners. And then I'm super excited. Aaron hasn't seen this yet. Aaron, this is our new shirt. It's called Tinfoil Hat, Question Everything. And look at the little sleepy mouse. Who's the sleepy mouse right there? That is Aaron, the little sleepy teacup. Look at that, Aaron. Look at you. You're a teacup with purple nipples. So congratulations. These are all available at allcomedyt-shirts.com. And tomorrow night is the big show. That's right. It's a Tinfoil Hat comedy show night with conspiracies and political comedy. It is a special event. It is at the Ice House. That is at you can get your tickets now. IceHouseComedy.com. Eddie Bravo, Jimmy Dore. Who else?
Brendan Walsh, Gareth Reynolds, Vanessa Johnston, and my
our ace boom cool. Another one, John Toll will be there. That's in the main room. In the side room, we're doing a live podcast. We're doing a swapcast with the one and only legend of the game, our good friend Greg Carlwood from the Higher Side Chats. Eddie Bravo will be on. Jimmy Dore will be on it. Stevie Weeby talking about getting bit by a demon. He'll be on that. And who else? Who knows who else will jump on? So we're super excited about that. And yeah, that's it, homeboy. I'm so excited about having our guest on.
Yeah, this might be the most prestigious.
Oh, real quick, final thing. Sorry, before I bring him in. The Patreon is going and it's rocking. Go to patreon.com tinfoil hat. Tinfoil hat. There you go. Go to Patreon tinfoil hat. We are going to be putting up content on that. And we're going to go simple with it, right? We're looking for $1 a month. We're going to give you a ton of content. We'll give you other stuff for $5 or $10. But I know everybody's begging everybody for cash, but this is to get the show going. We want to build up everything to make it a super duper Spiritual Skepticism Podcast.
I dig it.
So joining us via the power of Skype, I'm so excited about having this young man on. He is a legend of the game. Did we just lose him? No, there he is.
But I've lost you. I can't see you.
You can't see us? Yeah, how about that? Can you see us now?
I see you're frozen. I see a frozen image of you.
Okay, do you want us to call you back, or we just want to do this so you can hear us? It's
Well,
up to
whichever
you.
you prefer.
You want me to call you back?
Does that screw up everything for you? If you call
No,
me back?
not at all, man. We are we're in the moment podcast. We're
Okay, call me back.
we're gonna call you right
We
back.
fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, we're not
used to
afraid.
Technical
We're
difficulties.
Difficulties? We got some technical difficulties. Aaron, how do you think the podcast is going so far? Best podcast ever?
It's as I remember.
Boom, are we
Good,
back?
I can see you.
Good.
There you are.
Okay, we are proud to have our guest on for this episode. He's directed such movie classics as My Cousin Vinny, Clue, Nuns on the Run. He's written some amazing shows. If you got our British listeners, our European listeners will know him from Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. And he has a brand new book out called The Samaritans. Please welcome Jonathan Lynn, everybody. Welcome to the show, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much indeed.
Super huge fan of all your work and the range of work. I feel like it's almost like you're an old school director, and I mean that with all love. In that your projects range. There's not just one style. We see a lot now with a lot of directors and writer. They get a niche and they just mine that niche. Where you seem to go from My Cousin Vinny to Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister. That seems to be a nice spectrum of entertainment.
Yeah, don't forget the whole 9 yards.
I like to do different things. You didn't mention one of my favorites, which is called The Whole 9 Yards, which is a comedy thriller with Bruce Willis and Matthew Perry, and that was...
I love that movie.
And this distinguished gentleman, Sergeant Bilko, Greedy. I mean, yeah.
They were fun.
Why do you don't see that so much anymore? Do you think that's just the way Hollywood is now? You get a niche, you get a lane, they want you to stay in that lane, and it's hard.
That's why I haven't made any films for years, because you get really typecast, and they only want you to do a certain kind of film. After Nuns on the Run came out, which is about two guys dressed as nuns trying to get away from a gang they're members of, and they run into a convent and discover that if they put on nuns' habits, people will think they're women.
Yeah.
And after that, I was offered every drag movie in Hollywood. Of course, I said no to all of them because I felt they'd done that.
Yeah.
But they whatever it is you've just done, if it went well, they want you to do the same thing. If it didn't go well, they never want to see you again. But if it did go well, they want exactly the same thing again.
Is there in Hollywood? My girlfriend produces concert films, music videos, and stuff like that. She works with a very successful director in that. But she always told me about director purgatory or director penalty box, where like if you have a bad movie, you kind of sit in this box for like a year and a half before
That's movie jail, people call
movie
it.
Jail, right?
Yeah.
I know you had a string of success. Were you ever put in movie jail, Jonathan?
Oh, yes. After Clue, which opened and didn't do well to start with, it's become hugely successful, but wasn't when it opened. I was unemployable. I couldn't get a movie for 4 years.
So what did you do?
I went back to Britain and did Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, and I directed 3 shows at the National Theatre. And then I had an idea for Nuns on the Run, and I wrote it, but nobody wanted it. So I was hired to write it by Warner Brothers, but they didn't want it because they said, take out all this theological dialectic. And I said, no, it's just jokes about the church.
So let me ask you something. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So then I rewrote it British and did it as a British movie.
That's amazing.
George paid for it because no studio would pay for it. He was great.
Do you feel that? Do you feel? What was your thoughts on where Hollywood is right now in terms of the box office, because what we've seen now is they had a historically bad year. People aren't going to the movies. It seems like the only movies people want to go to now are superhero movies. I have my theories on that. I like a lot of the movies you've done, these classics, in a weird way, they would be seen as indie flicks if they came out right now. They wouldn't necessarily be getting, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. And furthermore, well, several of them were indie flicks, and I now would not be able to make a studio film. Studio films are all the same. I think they deserve their record bad year. I went to the movies recently and went to see Dunkirk, which I liked.
It was a wonderful movie.
A wonderful movie, and there were 6 trailers for films that were absolutely indistinguishable. I couldn't tell one from another. They all had different titles, but they all had the same stuff. They had robots, cars flying through the air, explosions. They were the same movie. And if I were a young member of the public, I would not go to see all of them, and I might go to see none because they're all the same. And so, really, the problem is that movies now are being made by committees of executives.
Oh, yeah.
They're not really movie people. They're just, all they're interested in is franchising something. They might as well be making McDonald's hamburgers.
Well, I agree with that too. I think a big reason why you see superhero movies doing so well, because I do enjoy them. I don't know what this says about me, but I do enjoy them. But I think
really good ones, but there's very few.
I would totally agree with that. The reason I think they do better is because, especially in Los Angeles, the movies are so expensive. It is. So it's like, let's say I go see a movie at the movie theater on Hollywood and Highland. It's $20, $22 to see the movie. So I'm bringing my girl. So now I'm $45 in, not including the parking, which they had the balls to charge me $5 to park there, and then all the drinks and all that. I'm over $50.
If you've got kids, you've got a babysitter.
Yep.
It's crazy. And other businesses, other forms of show business, they charge you according to the price of the value of what you're seeing. So if you go and see a small play, you pay very little for a ticket. If you go and see a huge musical, you might pay a lot of money for a ticket. And that's the only sense. But every movie is priced the same. So whether you go and see, some tiny independent film that costs $1.8 million, or whether you go and see Wonder Woman, it's the same price. That's crazy.
And it's just like, and again, there's this whole argument that like Vegas, the movie industry, and the music industry was all better when it was ran by the mob because they understood, lost leaders and stuff like that. And it wasn't like what I call these Terminator suits who just everything is about $1. Like now in Las Vegas, I just went to Las Vegas and they're charging for parking. And I'm going to tell you, nobody's going to go to that hotel because nobody's going to want to pay for parking. They never charge you for parking back in the day. That was the whole thing. You park there, you leave your car for a week, you come back, you get it, and you go. Now they're trying to nickel and dime you for parking, and it's ridiculous, man.
You seem to be suggesting that when the mob does things, they're not interested in the dollars.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that I think that they... Let Vegas used to run Vegas where it's like, we know we're going to make our money on the table. So we're going to bring in Frank Sinatra and you only have to pay $10 to see him. Your hotel room is $10 a night because we know you're going to drop $300 to $400 gambling, and that's where they want to make their money at. Whereas suits are like everything. Like the Hard Rock, like I went to Hard Rock, it's like $12 for a Budweiser. A Budweiser.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So let's get into your book, man, The Samaritans. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it's a dark comedy about healthcare, which I find hilarious and terrible in this country. And it's set in a hospital called Samaritans in Washington, D.C., which is beset by rising costs and bad management, like most hospitals. And in an attempt to get out of their financial problems, they decide they're going to hire as their CEO the head of hotel operations from a Vegas casino. Because he understands about check-in and check-out, beds occupied, dinners served. He knows how to fill a big institution with lots of rooms, and he has absolutely no interest in healthcare. He's just interested in making money. So that's what it's about. It's about how healthcare has become purely a money-making operation in this country.
I love that the guy who owns it is
original purpose, which was to cure people.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but the Las Vegas. I love that the hospital is owned by a guy named David Soper.
Soper, yeah.
And
yeah.
I love that you have him as a billionaire arms dealer, because we talk about that a lot on this show, about how like the real money is in drugs, arms deal, and oil, and a lot of the stuff, especially like in Hollywood, how they determine everything. It's like, I think people in Hollywood, the business of Hollywood is less about ratings and selling tickets and more about propaganda to sell more arms, to sell more drugs, to sell more oil and stuff like that. So
I think there's an element of that, but in this case, he's the chairman of the hospital board because he's trying to, as he puts it, give back. So making billions from other people's death and injury all over the world, he thinks it's good for his image if he's chairman of a hospital board, and that's why he's doing it. Yeah.
You seem to be into satire a lot when it comes to your art. Why satire? Because you're making, with your a lot our listeners in America might not know the show Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, which made fun of the British government at the time. And you do that. You write this book. Why that type of art? What made you get into that kind of satire?
Well, satire is a form of is a mode of humor which attempts to change things in society. So, and if art is how can I put this simply? If art is criticism of life, which I think it is, comedy is criticism of life by ridicule. So, what satire does is it looks at what all comedy does. It looks at institutions of society. It looks at marriage, looks at the cops, it looks at the courts, looks at the government, it looks at the church, it looks at every major institution, the military, and makes fun of it. And if you're a satirist, what you're actually hoping to do is, it means you're a kind of hopeless moralist. It means you're actually trying to by drawing attention to how terrible things are and by making them funny, you're hoping that people will do something about it.
I've listened to you on other podcasts and read some of your stuff. Now, you had a very interesting thing. What was it about art, Ryan, that he had? It was a really good quote.
Yeah, you said in another podcast, it was actually with your friend on, what was that?
Something Inquiry.
Yeah.
Inquiring Minds.
Inquiring Minds, yes.
And if you guys, you should check it out. It's a very good podcast. Art is criticism life. Satire is criticism of life by ridicule. I mean, that's really gets to the base of it. And what people forget, which you bring up, is 1984 was a satire. It wasn't designed as a manual on how to complete the future, which it's become.
No, it's a dystopian book, but what it's saying is, and distressingly, it's coming more true every day, saying this is how the world is going. And Orwell was a satirist. He wrote a really funny little book called Animal Farm, which you probably know of.
Yeah.
Which is about how the animals take over a farm, and it's a satire on the Soviet system of government. It was at the time of Stalin, but it's a funny book, I like to use humor because I think otherwise it's boring. I don't want to be boring and preachy. I want to entertain people. I want to make them laugh, but it's more fun to make them laugh with ideas than just with jokes about the price of fish.
Yeah.
It's true. It's kind of what we do. We're in completely different forms of media, but we find that if we can plant seeds and sprinkle it with a little bit of humor, they'll grow more than if you just give it the doom and gloom. Because
that's exactly right. I try not to give it the doom and gloom. I think the doom and gloom is there for anyone who wants to read it that way, but that's not the purpose. What I'm trying to do is entertain them. I mean, if you read Samaritans, it will remind you of, I don't know what kind of books your listeners read, but I mean, it's
Mostly
more like,
penthouse forums.
okay, well, it won't remind them of that. But it might remind them of Elmore Leonard, if they know Elmore Leonard, or Carl Hiaasen. It's a book with sort of a certain velocity. It speeds through. It's funny. It's light. It's dialogue driven. Elmore Leonard had a number of great rules for writing novels, of which I think the best is cut out the bits that people are going to skip.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get that. They do in comedy too. It's all about stand-up. It's all about trimming the fat. Get to it. Just boom, boom, boom. Now, satire, you see a lot. What's your opinion on modern day artists right now? We don't really see an anti-war left. I don't really know who's the counterculture now. Like, what is counterculture now? Back in the day, the 60s and 70s, it was very anti-war, anti-establishment. Is there anywhere? It seems like everybody's co-signing everything that Washington is doing. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I wouldn't think so. I think there's an enormous resistance to Donald Trump and his administration. I don't think he won the election. I think it was, there was so much voter suppression and so forth, gerrymandering. I'm not sure that in an actual Democratic vote that Trump would have won. I think he wouldn't have. But leaving that aside, there's plenty of people on the air who are expressing huge opposition. And if that's what you call a counterculture, there's John Oliver, there's Saturday Night Live, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's lots of people. The problem with America, for some reason, is that satire seems to be only acceptable with late night television shows.
Yeah. They're the only ones who are allowed to question anything, huh?
Yeah, after 10 p.m.
A lot of questioning in other ways.
Yeah.
Which I find puzzling.
Were you a Hillary Clinton fan?
No, but I voted for her.
Okay. Why? Is it just the lesser of two evils?
Absolutely the lesser of two evils. Very much the lesser of two evils. But I did have reservations about her.
Right.
I gave a lot of money to Bernie Sanders' campaign.
Now, did you think that primary was at all some interesting things went on with that?
With which primary? The Clinton-Sanders primary?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, once again, it seemed to me that the California result was announced when there were still, I think it was between 1 and 2 million votes uncounted.
Yeah.
Democratic primary. I think, I think Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's the chairman of the Democratic Party, had really organized things in terms of Hillary Clinton's success. I think there were about, 15 or 20 Republican debates on television in prime time, and only 4 Democratic debates, and they were all on Saturday night opposite football games. So it was designed that nobody would really watch Bernie Sanders. So, yes, do I think the Democratic Party did its utmost to make sure that Hillary Clinton was the candidate? Yes, I do, and I think that was a huge mistake.
Do you think that might have cost her a lot of votes, and she lost a percentage of the liberal and Democratic left?
If it did cost her votes, that would have been foolish of the people who didn't vote for her, because whatever criticisms you may have had of her, there's absolutely no contest between her and Donald Trump, in my view.
Okay.
So I mean, you have to be practical. When it comes to election, you actually can only vote for the candidate you've got. We got George W. Bush because so many idiots voted for Ralph Nader.
Right.
When he didn't have a chance of winning. That's not a very sensible thing to do.
Now, your famous show in England, which was Yes, Mr., Yes, Prime Minister, the rumor was that it was Margaret Thatcher's favorite show.
Yes, that was unfortunately true.
Now, some of our listeners might not know that much about Margaret Thatcher. Can you tell us a little bit about Margaret Thatcher so that or your thoughts on her? Because I want to see how it relates to Hillary Clinton, and if there's this notion.
She's nothing like Hillary Clinton.
Nothing at all?
Oh, no, not at all. She was very, very conservative. She she came to power with a major attempt to break the trade unions, who were very powerful in Britain in 1979. She was. It's hard to describe her, really. She had no sense of humor. She was. I met her several times because she was indeed, to my great embarrassment, a huge fan of the program and told everybody.
Now, how does that make you feel? I mean, obviously you said it's embarrassing, but, in comedy, in music, you see that a lot. Like a politician will be touring and he's on election and he'll play songs and the bands will be like, hey, dude, don't play our song. We don't like you. We don't give you the right to play our songs. Like, how does that make you feel?
I take a different view of that. I think you can't choose your audience. I mean, there are millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions of people out there who see what I do one way or another. I can't select them. I can't choose them. It's not up to me. I can have my views about what they do, just as they can have their views about me. Now, in the case of Margaret Thatcher, she was telling, I don't think she had a sense of humor, although it was a comedy show. I think politicians like to associate themselves with things that are very popular with the public. The show was enormously popular, and by telling everybody that it was her favorite show, it made her seem as though she had a sense of humor, and she felt it, and it ingratiated her with all the show's fans. There's a clear political motive for this. I met her several times, and I was invited to number 10 Downing Street, which is our equivalent of the White House, and I had dinner with her. And
what was that like? What was that like?
It was tense. It was tense. And I'm curious. I mean, I found it very interesting.
I mean, that close to a power, someone who at the time was easily one of the most powerful people in the world.
Yes, she was. She was a great buddy of Reagan's, and she was immensely powerful. And she had just had a successful war against the Falkland Islands, which was kind of like Reagan's war in Grenada. The war you couldn't really lose.
You're right.
I mean, everyone talks about how America's got the greatest military in the world. Well, it's got the biggest.
Yeah.
And it's got the richest, but somehow America hasn't won a war since 1945. So you wonder how great it really is.
Well, sometimes I wonder if we're actually wanting to win the war and more, not just prolong the war in, in an empire type, attitude. Like, we're invading, but hey, we're going to hang out here for the next 2 decades.
Well, yes, there's no question that the American empire is vast, and I think there are American bases in 180 countries at this point. But anyway, I was given an award by something that was equivalent to Jerry Falwell's Moral Majority, or whatever they call themselves.
Oh, so interesting.
And Mrs. Thatcher was asked to present it, and I didn't know how to get out of it.
I always think about that.
And so, she presented me with the award, and I was live on the air. Great many people, 500 journalists in the room. I would say it was as if it was like we'd just had a Middle East peace treaty signed. There were so many people there, and we were on the air. And I said that I wanted to thank Mrs. Thatcher for presenting me with this award, and for finally taking her rightful place in the field of situation comedy. And it got an enormous laugh. And after that, she didn't speak to me again, and I was never again invited to another day.
So it worked. That's because I think about that all the time. Like, there are people in this country that I absolutely despise: George Bush, Dick Cheney. And, recently Ellen had Dick Cheney on, and I'm just like, what? How do you do that? How do you have somebody on that whether he was just a figurehead of it or had, because I think the real brains was Dick Cheney, and I think he's the real one behind it.
I agree with you. I think it's very difficult. I think it is possible to be friends with people and to get along well with people who you don't agree with. I do have conservative friends who I like, although I flatly disagree with them about many things. And I think democracy can't work if you can't get along with people who have different views. But there are some people whose views are so different and so shocking that you have to draw a moral line somewhere. And I agree with you. Cheney comes into that category.
Well, it's not even that his views. I have tons of conservative friends. It's more about his actions and the results of these actions. And,
Well, that's what I mean. The views lead to the actions.
Yeah, for
His
sure.
views led to torture.
Yeah, torture, bombing, drone strikes.
And an unnecessary war that should never have happened against somebody that we had no fight with.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
that all comes from the fact that his views was so strange.
It's that deep state.
I find that us Americans and the British, we have so much more in common than we don't, whether it's from our art forms that literally almost every great rock and roll band came from that tiny little island. And I don't know, I mean, Jimi Hendrix had to go to Britain in order to get famous, you know?
Metallica did too. Metallica couldn't get any love in the United States. Bill Hicks was like that. He couldn't get any love in America, so he had to go to England, and he would just get mobbed everywhere he went. I don't even know why he'd come back, but yeah.
And it's interesting because you guys were so much alike in ways that so much of America is conservative and very staunch. And when people think of Britain, they think of very proper and prim. But I mean, I was raised on Monty Python. I remember like staying up late at night to see Benny Hill chase like half-naked girls around. I was like,
love that.
Who are these kooky bastards over there? And so I'd always hold in mind, you guys have that essence of knowing that comedy is universal, you know?
I think you're right. I think it is universal. And I think you're right about British rock bands. Though, of course, there are a number of absolutely great American rock bands too.
GNR, Leonard Skinner, The Doors, but
there's plenty.
Yeah.
Springsteen. I mean, there's lots.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite bands are American. I mean, Paul Simon was great. I think Randy Newman is absolutely terrific. There are a lot of people on both sides of the Atlantic. I think we have a tremendous amount in common. But I don't have much in common with the more conservative parts of this country, and the conservatives are much more under control in Britain than they are here. The evangelical thing here is sort of very different from anything we have in Britain.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Nobody. I mean, they don't have any real standing in Britain. People laugh at them.
Well, here's what I find out about what my opinion on America compared to England, because I think you guys don't put up with as much as we do when it comes to our politicians. And I think the reason is as a country, we're a lot younger. I feel like we're going through our growing phase, whereas you guys had to deal with royal families and all these wars over time, where you guys learned the patterns of abuse, and you could see it coming. Therefore, like your House of Commons is amazing. I watched that. You ever watch that on C-SPAN? Yeah. It is like it's Congress meets your mama's competition. It's great.
The main difference is that we don't respect our politicians. We don't think that just because you're elected to public office, you're entitled to respect. Yeah. We think you're only entitled to respect if you earn it. And that's very few politicians. So if you watch a television interview show, a political show, the interviewers are much tougher. They don't accept all the bullshit that you hear from American politicians, in which interviewers here on all the main TV shows don't actually question. Or if they do, they question it terribly carefully and very, very cautiously. In Britain, the interviewers are ruthless. They just basically say, but it's not what you said. It's not what you believed. Do you realize that you said this here and now you're saying this there, and that you can't believe both? And I mean, they're quite rigorous in the way they interview people, in the way that doesn't happen here. And that's what you see reflected in the House of Commons too.
I love it.
Commons, in all fairness, the House of Commons is very different from watching Congress on television.
Oh yeah.
But in both cases, it's theater. Nothing is divided. Nothing is decided in the House of Commons.
I love the theater of it. I love
and
it.
Nothing is decided in Congress.
No,
it's just that the House of Commons is a disrespectful theater, and the Congress is sort of church-like.
Yeah, I feel that you guys are just longer down the road, and I think we're going through our growing pains, and Just I think that people are starting to wake up that the mainstream media here really isn't doing their job like people think they are. They're co-signing on a lot of stuff, and they're not questioning. Now, a great example is something that your book covers, which is the healthcare industry. And I find it very interesting because I talk about this all the time. Our healthcare industry is a racket. The last thing they really care about is healthcare, and it's really about profit. And as someone who used to live in England, what is your thoughts about the biggest difference between the, let's say, European healthcare, British healthcare, and American healthcare?
Well, the biggest obvious difference is a financial one, in a variety of ways. The biggest obvious difference is that American healthcare costs this country 18% of GDP. That's gross domestic product.
Yeah.
In any developed European country, Britain, France, Switzerland, Germany, anywhere, it costs between 9 and 11% of GDP.
Yeah. It's
GDP. So what that means is that healthcare here is slightly more than 1/3 more expensive than in any other developed industrialized country. And that is money that is just taken straight off the top by the insurance companies and the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. In this country, you're going, sir, sorry.
Well, no, I mean, that's the biggest difference. So, healthcare is infinitely cheaper in every other developed country. And in all these other developed countries, there is universal healthcare. Now, it's not all a sort of Medicare for all system. Sometimes it's completely state organized, and sometimes it's a system of state and private insurance. But if it's private insurance, it's strictly regulated, and all the private insurance companies are not-for-profit companies, and that genuinely means not-for-profit. Whereas here, it is all about profit. Healthcare here is on a business school model, and the theory is that if you can't afford it, you shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's absurd. I mean,
I do too.
A bit like saying if you can't, if a burglar breaks into your house and you can't afford to pay the cops, don't call them because they won't come. Or if a fire breaks out, you've got to pay the fire department or they won't come.
I say that all the time.
In fact, if you want to flush your toilet, you'd better pay the city or they won't flush it. Now, the point is there are certain things that are public service.
Yes.
And healthcare,
people like socialism in certain things, but not in other things. They're cool with the military, the police, and all.
Socialism, it's social democracy.
Yes, I agree with that.
I mean, people are scared to death of socialism here, but what they associate that with Stalinism. Right. They associate it with oppression and total lack of freedom. But that's not how it is anywhere in Western Europe. It's not how it is in Canada or in Australia or New Zealand. It's people have plenty of freedom. They have the freedom to be able to afford healthcare without going bankrupt. You know that bankruptcy, the number one cause of personal bankruptcy in this country is medical debt.
Yep.
How can that be in a civilized country?
Today, my father texted me today, and I'm so blessed he has health insurance. He was in the hospital for 4 days, dude. 4 days. He wanted to leave earlier. They wouldn't let him leave. He finally got them to let him leave. Just got the bill today. Guess how much his bill was, Ryan?
4 days. I don't know. $7,000.
$54,000. My father's bill was. Luckily, his insurance covered $53,000 of it, and I'm gonna send him some money because he's my dad, and I want to help him out. But that number to me is ridiculous. And here's the thing: when you
he got off lightly.
Yeah, he did get off lightly. My girlfriend's sister just passed away, and she got her bill for her sister, and it was like $300,000.
Yes.
And here's the thing: they often talk about what the argument is from the rights and the people who are, I believe, are paid to squawk the opposition, is that let the free market work it out. And I think that's ridiculous. See, the meat-free market is hamburgers, okay? If I want a $16 hamburger, I can go find a $16 hamburger. But if I can only afford a $1 hamburger, there's dollar hamburgers out there. That's free market. What's going on with your cell phones right now? Verizon Wireless having to give away free data because everywhere else was, because their competition was lowering the price to get more customers. That's free market. Where is the free market in the healthcare industry? Where can I go for a cheaper version of this? People fighting for my dollar. It doesn't exist.
Well, it exists in some places, but that isn't the argument about a free market. Is that unfettered capitalism doesn't work. Now,
yes.
Capitalism works. It works better than communism. It works better than it's a system that works, but it only works when it's regulated. It only works when it's controlled. It only works when it's fair. It only works when the government intervenes to make sure that people who are very rich and very greedy don't take everything for themselves.
Right.
That's what makes capitalism work. It has to work for the people overall. And what people, a lot of conservatives forget, is that when they don't want to pay workers properly, is that workers and consumers are the same people.
Could not agree more.
So therefore, if you don't pay the workers properly, they can't buy anything. If they can't buy anything, the economy doesn't flourish.
Right.
Nothing gets consumed, nothing grows, nothing, you need consumption in order to make the economy function. And capitalism is not a failure. It's not that it doesn't work. It's that it's unregulated and uncontrolled and in the hands of people who are only interested in making money for themselves. And that can't be the way any community operates. There has to be a sense of community. There has to be a sense of making it work for everybody. If you don't, you're going to get into terrible trouble in the end.
I agree. When do you say that there's places to go for cheaper health care? Let's say my father, like what are you suggesting? Where can you go? I would love to. I mean, like we just saw.
I don't know where you live, and I don't know where your father lives. And
he lives in Arizona. Like the hospital. Where is a counter to what the hospital is paying? I just don't see. Like right now in Washington, they passed a bill that said Americans cannot go to Canada and buy cheaper drugs. They have to buy their drugs here, and it's way more expensive. That's
right, but that's because government regulations and laws have been brought in to prevent the free market operating.
Right.
That isn't the free market. That's a problem with the free
that's
market.
That's what I think. Yeah. I guess we're agreeing on it. I guess we're just coming from a different
words,
angle on it.
It should be possible. The drugs in Canada are the same. Probably a lot of the pharmaceuticals that we buy here are actually made in Canada. They're certainly the same. And it should be perfectly possible to import them and buy them for about 1/10 of the price here so that people can buy them for what they cost in Canada. But it's not allowed. Why? Because George W. Bush's government and Congress made a deal to benefit the pharmaceuticals so that they could charge whatever they wanted for drugs and nobody could interfere with that. That's not capitalism. That's not the free market.
Couldn't agree more.
That is monopoly.
Yeah. Prescription drug spending, annual spending for prescription drugs in the U.S. is estimated to rise 22% over the next 3 years, reaching $400 billion in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean,
most of that is just pure profit.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Rock said on Big Pharma when interviewed one time, he said, "No money in the cure. The money's in the medicine."
That's right.
Well,
and when he was saying, "Where's the counterculture?" Well, he's part of it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you looked at someone, let's say, do you remember actress Brittany Murphy?
Yeah.
When she passed away, within 2 seconds, the news was announcing her death. The first line they said, she died of natural causes. You're like, well, she's 25 years old. She's having a heart attack. It doesn't make sense. Well, when you watch the nightly news on your television, most of the commercials are in fact for like drugs. Like, hey, Tepitor, buy Tepitor for the weight loss, blah blah blah. Could cause this, this, and this, and this. Does anyone ever actually go to their doctor and go, hey man, I saw this ad for Tepitor. Would it be right for me? What?
I've often wondered that. Who actually goes to the doctor and says, I saw this ad? I don't think so. I think they go to the doctor. If they can afford to go to the doctor, they go to the doctor and the doctor says, I think I should prescribe such and such.
Yep.
You say, okay, can I afford it? And they say, well, maybe, I don't know. And if you can't, maybe there's a generic. I'll find out about that. And then if there isn't a generic, a lot of unfortunate people who don't have enough money go without the drug and die.
I also believe that whole thing is about controlling the message too. If my company buys 3 ads in that hour and your company who does pharmaceuticals buys 3 ads in that hour, now we have the block of advertisement. If they run something we don't like, we can threaten to pull our sponsorship. And that's how you control the message, in my honest opinion. You were going to say something.
Will you ever notice one of the very first things they say in side effects? Side effects include suicidal thoughts. I'm like, what? Just because you have
Sometimes
restless
the side
leg?
effects are worse than what you're trying to get fixed. You're like, okay, now I don't have a headache, but I'm suicidal and I got explosive diarrhea. What's going on here?
And I know that a majority of the people that listen to our podcasts are anywhere from like 18 to 35, but don't get it twisted. One day you're going to need health care. One day you're going to be in the hospital. For me, we were saying I don't have health care, but the only time I ever go to the hospital is when I break a bone or some shit hits the fan. And then when I do, I'm like, man, I wish I'd.
But you should have insurance, because what if you walk straight out of the studio and you get hit by a car?
I know.
Yeah.
When we were researching this, I was like, I got to do something with I got to get my life straight.
Everybody needs to have health insurance. The problem is that the system is fixed here so that an enormous number of people can't afford it. I mean, under Obamacare, which was an improvement on what was there before, there were still 27 million people without health care insurance.
And to put that in perspective, I mean, they estimate that California's population is 30 million.
No, that's just Southern California, dude. They're talking, that's from L.A. down to San Diego. That's it.
Jesus.
And just think how many people live from L.A. down to San Diego, where it's just, we make cities up, but for the most part, it's just one giant city. When you get by those, the 2 nuclear war nipples that were in the Naked Gun, you remember that?
Onofre.
Yeah, that little area's got no city, but most of it's just complete city all the way down. That's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of,
But it's 27 million people in this country with no insurance. Now, that doesn't include all the people who have got some kind of insurance, but which doesn't cover them for various conditions. And it doesn't. And then a lot of other people who have got insurance but who can't afford to buy the medications because the copays are so huge.
Yeah, deductibles to me is the biggest scam in the world. Why am I paying this off? I'm paying a monthly thing to get covered, and you guys say we only cover after $1,000 or $2,000. It's like, why? Oh, you should just cover it for $5. If I'm paying a monthly,
this is the only country with this problem.
With deductibles,
every other Western developed industrialized country has universal health care. Everybody can get health insurance. Everybody is covered. There are lots of different ways of doing it, but this is the only country with this problem. It's a bit like guns here, I mean, there was a great headline in The Onion last week after that terrible massacre in Las Vegas, when it said, I can't remember the exact wording, but it said, nothing can be done about this as the only country where this regularly happens.
Yes, right. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And the point is, this problem can be solved. It just isn't going to be solved so long as Congress is being in the pay of the pharmaceuticals and the insurance companies and the other vested interests who are giving so much money to members of Congress and members of the Senate that they have absolutely no interest in changing the system.
I would be even happy if the government could even negotiate with pharmaceutical companies. We can't even do that. They can't negotiate with them. Whatever price the pharmaceutical companies want to put out is the price we got to pay. That's why I'm saying there's no free market, man. There's nobody offering you alternative to these drugs.
That's right. That deal was made under the George W. Bush government, and that's the way it is.
A number that I got from some of the information your publicist sent us shocked me, and I actually found that it was someone else said the number was even higher. But according to some estimates, medical errors in this country, dude, a year. Guess how many people die from medical errors a year? 250,000. That was a low number. I found somewhere that said it's 1,000 people a day. 1,000 people.
Maybe a low estimate. And it's the third largest cause of death in this country after cancer and heart disease.
Jesus.
But I'm sorry for the doctors. I don't blame the doctors. The doctors have a terrible time. Most of them employ 4 or 5 clerks in their office just to argue with the insurance companies all day.
Yep.
I mean, they have huge expenses. It's a very litigious society. If the slightest thing goes wrong, they're sued for millions.
Yep.
It's I don't think being a doctor is an easy job here. I think there are some who are exploitative, but I think there are many who do their absolute best.
And just want to help out, and then it's just a impossible situation. It's impossible.
It's the lobbyist, and I found it interesting researching about your films and whatnot. You made a film called The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy, and that's about a lobbyist. And in there, in an interview that you gave, you're talking about how Bill Clinton said, yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, our politicians shouldn't see a film that's dark comedy and being like, yep, that's it.
Oh, I probably thought it was a doc. That's what he probably thought.
No, that was very interesting. Clinton, who had just been elected, saw the movie and came out and was seen on the news saying, yeah, that's the way it is in Washington. And he was going to be inaugurated the following month. And I phoned Disney, who had made the film, and said, you've got to get that clip into an ad and put it out everywhere. And they said, no.
Yeah.
And I said, why not? And it turned out their lobbyists in Washington didn't want that to happen because Disney is also represented by lobbyists, and they need lobbyists to get Congress to build roads to Anaheim, to Disneyland, and to Orlando. And they need all kinds of concessions, and they need copyright law expanded so that Mickey Mouse can go on being not in the public domain for another 25 years. And so the lobbyists said no, and so they wouldn't use that quote from Bill Clinton endorsing the movie.
Well, we've said it before that, we think that, the people who own pharmaceuticals, own the war companies, own the oil companies, own giant chunks of all these production companies and these, these movie studios. And, I had a friend, Andrew Santino, had one joke about back acne and having to take drugs for it. And Showtime told him, take it out. We are owned by pharmaceutical companies, and they don't want that out.
Sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think there's parallels to your book with what's actually happening in modern day. I read about how it's a CEO of he used to be you said he was a Vegas guy, and they bring him in to run the hospital. Well, Gary Loveman, former CEO and now bankrupt Vegas casino Caesar's Palace, has recently been appointed by Aetna.
Yeah.
To run its healthcare insurance division. I mean, he bankrupts.
Unbelievable.
That happened while I was writing the book. I couldn't believe it because I created this character who I thought was this sort of logical absurdity of a Vegas man who would be hired to run a major hospital in Washington D.C. And lo and behold, Aetna went one better. They hired a Vegas man from a bankrupt casino to run their entire healthcare division.
Unbelievable.
Now, we're just talking about how Hollywood filters out things. Do you see this, or have anyone approached you to make this book into a film, or is it too close to?
Nobody has. I'm hoping they will, but I'm not holding my breath.
Is it it's because too close to the vein of truth, huh?
I fear it may be, but I'm certainly hoping that somebody will. I think it would make a very good cable series. I think it would also make a very good movie. I have put out a few feelers, but so far, with no response whatever.
It's just unbelievable. It's all like everything's intertwined, dude. And it's just like this guy. Well, didn't the guy who just somebody, the company that was in charge of protecting all of our like personal information just got hacked?
Yeah.
What's it called? EFAX?
Yeah, whatever they call. Yeah.
What was it called, Aaron?
Equifax.
They just got hired by the government to protect our some crazy ass thing. The exact thing they got hacked for. Now the government hired them to protect. It's unbelievable to me. There's like, when I came into LA, there was a bunch of comedians who were known for stealing other people's jokes, and I just would watch and nothing would happen. And I'm like, is there ever consequences? And then the consequences came. Is there any consequences for this cronyism? Jonathan, do you see anything ever changing, or how does it change?
I don't know. I'd like to know the answer to that.
So many people playing ball just for a check. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Some people don't, but most people do. It's kind of shameful. I mean, the way we watched the Republican Party all fall into line behind Donald Trump, although they knew that he was a petulant, narcissistic 2-year-old. But they all fell into line behind him, and they've been supporting him and condoning him and pretending that he's not at risk of starting World War III. And I mean, how much more dangerous can things get in the world when you've got him essentially tweeting provocations to North Korea about nuclear weapons?
Unbelievable, man! Wars starting. I've heard of Twitter wars. That war started on Twitter.
I mean, it's a bit like Dr. Strangelove, what we're witnessing
It
here.
really is, man.
It's more like idiosyncrasy or
idiocracy, 100%, dude. And now he's talking about going into Venezuela, which is all petrodollar stuff. And so that if you go North Korea, Venezuela, we say here before, that's our 8th and 9th war. That only 2 of them have been approved by Congress. Those are Hitler numbers. When you hit 9, you're getting the Hitler numbers.
You can't get Congress to take any interest in this. Obama tried to get Congress to approve the various wars he was conducting, and Congress refused to debate them. They refused to put them on the agenda.
Unbelievable.
Mitch McConnell, and wouldn't.
Mitch McConnell.
I know he wouldn't put it down for debate.
Well, some would say that as much as damage that Trump's doing in such a short amount of time, he's in a weird way, the best thing to happen to American politics, because he illuminates how it's all a facade. Like, no longer can you not say that it's not just a puppet. Because now, after this presidency, let's hope that.
Now every bad celebrity wants to be a Kid Rock wants to be. Where's it going to stop? Guy Fieri? What are we going to have? Who else?
It's not new. I mean, Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
George Murphy. I mean, there's been no end of showbiz. Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's been no end of ignorant celebrities. Celebrities getting into government.
I know. Say what you want.
And they're mostly very highly regarded. I mean, Reagan has a kind of godlike stature among the Republican Party members, and I find that very puzzling.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been referred to as Black Jesus. I mean, Obama definitely didn't make things better. But at least he was able to be eloquent about it.
Yeah,
I think he made some things better.
Yeah,
and I think he did his best. I think it was almost impossible. There was it was agreed by the Republicans from the moment he won that they would not cooperate with anything that he did. So he's only the president. Presidents can't legislate. Congress has to pass legislation. And Congress refused, the Republicans in Congress refused to cooperate with Obama. I don't blame him for that. I think he did his utmost.
Yeah, I think your book does a really good way of just giving commentary to what's happening in our times with the healthcare industry. I mean, you kind of have a history of it with, not to end on it, but My Cousin Vinny, it was a commentary on capital punishment.
It was.
And I've heard you say that you've been asked to speak in front of like panels of federal judges and whatnot. Like, I mean, when are we going to we're going to have the modern Dr. Strangelove to understand that. Could you imagine if Winston Churchill was tweeting at Hitler? Like, hey, could you not bomb us anymore? Like, well, when are things going to change? What can we do? Where's the hope and the ray of positivity? Is there a silver lining?
Oh, well, I don't know. The hope is that I hope people will read my book. I hope they will read lots of things with similar points of view. I hope they'll keep watching John Oliver and other people who have something to say. It has a very slow and gradual and slight, but eventually it mounts. Eventually, more and more people begin to understand what it is that we're saying.
Do you feel like people are waking up to what's happening around them?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thank you so much for.
We should have some answers for you guys, but I only ask questions.
No, I totally
keep making the art.
That.
Keep it up, because we need people like you that are really shining the light on all these absurdities, because that's what reality has become.
Now, Jonathan, I want to go on.
To encourage people to buy my book.
Please buy his book, everybody. Go buy Jonathan's book. Jonathan, before you go, this
you
podcast.
You tell them what it's called. I have to do this for you.
I've said it several times, man. Samaritans. We're gonna tweet about it. That's gonna be the name of the episode, man. We're gonna tweet it. Tell them where to get it, man. I'm gonna go buy it.
I'm glad about that.
I'm gonna go buy it, buddy. That's how much I appreciate
Amazon.
you coming on our show. I'm gonna go buy that book. Okay.
Good. I think it'll make you laugh, and I think it'll scare the hell out of you.
Well, everything else you've done, I've been a huge fan of, so I don't know why this would be any different, man. So before we go, this podcast is called Tinfoil Hat. It is a spiritual skepticism podcast. Some say conspiracy. We're not really into that word. We're more spiritual skeptics. We question the official narrative. So with that said, I would love to ask you, if you don't mind, your thoughts on the My Cousin Vinny Oscar conspiracy. Could I ask you about that, and your thoughts about how people thought that maybe there was something behind Marissa Tomei grabbing it? She did an excellent job in that movie. She deserved the award, but just out of fun, your thoughts on that there's this whole conspiracy with that.
I don't believe it. I think she was an outside choice. She was the only actress up for the part who wasn't really famous. This was her first big movie role. All the others were very, very well known. And I think I expected her to win.
There you go.
Before the Oscars, I expected her to win. People said to me, what do you think her chances are? And I said, I think she'll win, because the film came out in March, and it was now nearly the following March. And for a whole year, everybody said to me, who is that wonderful woman in your film? That's what everybody said who saw the film. And it seemed to me that included among that would be the 5,000 or 6,000 Academy voters. And that's what happened. And I flatly don't believe that she didn't win it. I think it was nonsense.
I love it. I've always wanted to ask you guys about that, and I'm so thankful you came on and was able to answer that. I think that's so awesome.
Keep fighting the good fight.
I thought she was great, and I'm happy.
I did too. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy all your work. Again, his book is Samaritans. Go check it out. I'm excited. I'm going to buy it tonight. I promise you that. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a real honor, man. I've been enjoying your work for decades, and I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Been my pleasure. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet both of you.
Good luck with everything. Good luck with the book, and take care, and I hope you get to make this into a movie, my friend.
Thank you. Me too.
Take care, Jonathan.
Okay, bye.
Jonathan Lynn, everybody. I thought that was a great interview. Aaron, thoughts on, my interview skills?
I mean, It's obviously a Skype, so you were cutting him off a little bit, but that's fine.
You're
doing your best, Sam. You're doing your best.
He would take breaths.
I know. He would
like
take
he
breaths.
was about to stop.
He's English.
And then he would go again, and I was like, fuck.
Dramatic pause. I mean, it's fine. No, it's totally fine.
And I apologize, and I tried not to. I tried to time it.
Yeah, no, you did way better after the first.
After the second, the 2/3, the second two.
You asked how I felt about your interview style. I didn't need to answer that.
Okay.
I don't think this is a conspiracy. I think this is a reality, and I totally agree with all of it.
Well, the conspiracy is, and he and I disagreed, is that there is free market on that, and it's not. There's not free market.
Yeah, there's no way this is.
And he's like, well, you can't go certain place. Where? You can't. You can't get cheaper drugs anywhere. You can only get a cheaper doctor's visit. Like you either go to a real hospital or you can go to a clinic and pay $60. You know.
Yeah.
And this
maybe
podcast,
that's what he means.
This was an interesting interview because politically, I didn't agree with everything he said. But, I don't want to get on here and make it about challenging that. That's the weird thing about this show, and it's kind of finding its footing in that I'm not going to challenge everything on everything. I love the interview. I'm so thankful that guy would come on our show.
Yeah.
His view of Hillary, I don't agree with. His view of Obama, I didn't agree with. But at the same time, I don't want to make the interview about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it about his book and the healthcare industry.
It's very reasonable. I'm just an American. I guess whenever I hear a British accent, I'm like, I'm fascinated. I love
They're
David
smarter
Attenborough.
than we are?
Yeah. The moment I hear someone from the South, I'm like, just go put on your shit kicking boots and go.
Let me ask you, Aaron, what time are we at?
We're at 105.
Okay.
I want to say that I'm personally affected by all of this. I have a deadly allergy to shellfish.
Bad comedy?
Well,
really?
Yeah. So when I was diagnosed with that, after having a couple reactions, I got a $2,000 hospital bill for 4 hours in an emergency room.
Unbelievable.
And then
Why
I had to
is
get
that acceptable?
I had to get an EpiPen, which was $650 to $1,000. The one that the guy wanted me to get, the talking one that takes you through the steps, and it fits in your pocket so you can carry it everywhere. That's the best part about it.
Crazy.
Because it's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, maybe smaller even. That was $1,000. So I had to get all these discounts and things that I had to just scramble for, and still paid $350. And it expired, I don't know, 18 months ago, 2 years ago.
Jesus.
So you're now I'm just kind of.
It's ridiculous, man.
I mean,
and it
you
makes
just
no sense.
avoid it as best you can, but. Yeah, if my throat's closing up, I don't have a shot.
I'm really sorry about that,
Yeah.
and I think that's bullshit. And I think that people don't realize that they fall for the media and they fall for the fighting, and they don't realize that there's actually, and I wish I would have brought it up with them. There's actually the biggest concern people say, and then we're gonna get our 5-star reviews real quick. The biggest concern is if you do universal health care, people will show up and the lines will be forever. And then they always get that one Canadian or that one British guy that bitches about the healthcare. Real quick, ask that person, we're going to take away your healthcare. You're going to pay for it. How quick would they be like, no, dude, don't take away my healthcare.
Yeah.
Fine, you don't want lines. Put a $60 you got to pay $60 to see the doctor, $100 to see the doctor. That way people wouldn't go unless they absolutely have to. The price of the fucking pharmaceuticals and the price of the operations, that shit should be covered.
Yeah.
To actually going to see the doctor, fine. Put a $60 pay on that. Throw a $100 pay on that. That will keep poor people from no, I didn't mean poor people. I hate that I said that. But just people who are just hypochondriacs, who have headaches, who are going to see surgeons because they think they have a tumor in their head,
But yeah, generally speaking, anyone who's young or healthy they're going to go as often as they do now, which is probably next to never. Once a year maybe for that physical.
So they always get one fucking Canadian going, I hate this shit. And it's like that. Okay, let's get into these. Let's start right here. You want to read these real quick, Ryan? We'll do as many as we can. Since we've been out of the studio, there's been a bunch of them. If you go to go to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We will read it. You don't even have to say anything positive. You just got to give a 5-star review. So here's.
All right, this is a 5-star review. Must listen by Trash Heap. Give me a shout out. Well, there's your shout out, Trash Heap. They bring you down some crazy rabbit holes. Some have been very good possibility of being. And hey, what?
Enlightenment. Okay,
And
next
huge
one.
enlightenment.
Let's get to the hot one.
You're infecting me with your ability to read. All right. Female subscriber.
Boom.
By Bride. I love your podcast. I appreciate when you give us subscribers info, where to find sources so we can dive down the rabbit hole ourselves. I love binge listening to you guys and keep up questioning everything. Get some more female conspirators. I mean, give
Dude,
us.
we're going to. We have 2, Vanessa and Rachel. So we'll keep going.
Yeah. Give us more.
Nothing far from real. 5-star review. A Gnomenon. Some things I've heard on here I knew. However, certain things that I heard have, as research, been fairly true. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you. Can't read all. You guys did long. Enjoyed the latest. Horsecock the Warlock. Thank you. You guys should do more true crime episodes, which we're going to do. We're going to do stuff with our friends. Crime with 2 eyes. We're going to do
3
that.
eyes.
3 eyes? Was there a 2-eye one?
Crime.
Oh, crime. Truth. Be out there. Keep digging. BWC K-Man. Awesome show covering many different subjects. Thank you, buddy. My favorite podcast. Thank you, 225 Tim. We appreciate. My favorite part of the podcast is when they read the 5-star reviews at the end. I love. Really? At the end, that's your favorite part? Jesus Christ. Usually it's when we yell Aaron thoughts. For Shizzle by Rick Dizzle. Wow. When I stumbled upon the show, I felt as if my tinfoil hat got stuck on by lightning. What was that?
I was going to say, keep in mind that I have these up on the screen so they can read along.
Oh, okay. All right. But not everybody's, more people listen.
Yeah, I know. It's
okay.
And it's
So you
also
owe me an
small,
apology.
It's small
Thank
print,
you.
but I'm just saying, like, every time you make a mistake, people can see where.
Fine. Fine. Read along with the retarded. That's what the segment's called. Read with the retarded. Entertaining as heck. What's that? Torku?
Who knows?
Yes. Look, I'm just
Tortuga.
trying to get a handy from a lizard person. I request that. I hear they give great hand jobs. By the way, half the economy of Las Vegas is just hand job massage parlors. There's literally, like how we have Starbucks here in Chase Banks, they have hand job places. There's always a picture of this sad Asian chick looking to give you hand jobs everywhere.
I got a little tie-in for our medical segment. Sam's been avoiding this. He needs to go get a colonoscopy, so I'm going to have him podcast while they're inserting the 3-foot camera up your...
Up my butt?
Yeah, so you're just going to just play-by-play on it.
That's just rude. Good luck. Good luck. 5-star review. The $5 box from Taco Bell is great. I appreciate your honesty. Best 5-star review by Magilene, Magil. These guys, okay, I don't rival JRE and entertainment information value. We love Joe Rogan. Without him, I would be homeless. That's the truth. Making Me a Believer by Wrestle Brain. Your podcast has really brought some things to my attention that I heard rumors about and saw in a doc. But the way you guys give a mixture of humor and seriousness into a podcast is outstanding. Keep up the good work, fellas, 100%. By the way, one of my favorite moments was when we made Jonathan laugh. He laughed a couple times. That's a British fucking dude laughing at our fucking knuckle dragger comedy.
And speaking of laughing, if you guys have not seen the stand-up comedy documentary called Dying Laughing.
Have you watched it?
Yeah, it's good.
It was good, right?
You gave me some good advice in there that I've taken to heart.
Really?
So check it out. Sam's in there. I mean, shit. Jamie Kennedy's in there. Jamie Foxx is in there. Jerry
I don't think Jamie
Seinfeld.
Kennedy's in there, but Jamie Foxx is.
They're all
yeah.
the same to me.
It's on Amazon if you have Prime.
There you
Oh,
go.
really?
Yeah.
It's not on, oh, shit.
I got it.
No, it's fine. It's not on Netflix yet? That makes
No,
me sad.
not
Do
yet.
you think it will be?
Eventually, I'm sure. I mean, that's not a question for me
I hope it goes on. Why not?
because I have nothing
Guys,
to do with it.
this has been a great podcast. Next week, I'm super excited. We have actually the creator of the Truth Chamber on YouTube, and she's going to come in and she's going to talk to us about, does Donald Trump have a time machine? And a lot of you guys have been asking about a Las Vegas episode. We will do it. We'll figure it out. Aaron's not comfortable with it, so we'll probably make it. And Ryan's not comfortable with it, so maybe I'll just do it with Tate Fletcher, and he has somebody who's there who wants to come on and talk about it. I'll respect. I just was in Vegas. It was by far one of the hardest weeks doing stand-up. Not only did I have to do it while that tragedy, but also on top of that, someone I love very much, Ralphie May, passed away. Was not unexpected, but still sad. when someone can't, when somebody so young passes away so early. But I gotta be honest with you, I was at the LA Comedy Festival, LA Comedy Club, and the crowds were so amazing. Matt Markman, all the local comedians came, and they hung out the whole week, and it was it made an completely unbearable weekend. It got me through it, man. The crowds were some of the best I've ever seen, and I'm so thankful to everybody. I'm so thankful to Matt and Joaquin at the club, and all the staff and all the comedians who came out. You made a very hard week bearable. So I love you very much. To everybody in Las Vegas, thoughts and prayers. Any thoughts, Ryan?
No, it's been good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate everything that you send to us at tinfoilhatpod@gmail. Keep on sending some ideas for future conversations and future episodes.
And whatever you guys want to see on Patreon, tell us, man. We're going to start doing that stuff, okay? We love you guys. Oh, thank you, Paint Minnesota, for the $50 love on PayPal. Go to tinfoilhatpod@gmail if you just want to make a donation. We're so thankful. You guys are the best. Love you guys. And go, man. Tomorrow's the big live swapcast between the Tinfoil Hat and Higher Side Chats. We love you guys. Hope to see you at the Ice House tomorrow. Go to icehousecomedy.com. Take care, everybody.